Everybody's been talking about this new show Wednesday, and it looks like their latest villain reveal was a work of art. Everybody who's seen the show has loved it so far. So if you want to find out more about why the reveal of Wednesday's villain is so beautifully predictable, be sure to stick around till the end of the video. Let's get right into it. First up, what's the hype all about? The series is based around the teen Wednesday Addams. Now, it's no secret that this show is a darker take on the popular TV show The Addams Family. The show starts with Wednesday being shipped off to her parents' alma mater, Nevermore Academy. It's at the academy where she meets all of these other wacky cast members, and the fun begins. Now, there are a ton of Easter eggs strewn around in the show, referencing the older iterations of the movies about the Addams Family. The fact that the main villain of the show is played by the same actress who played Wednesday Addams back in the older movies, such as the movie that came out in 1991, was a pleasant surprise that was well received by the audience. The whole reveal, while predictable, was honestly such a breath of fresh air. See, almost every movie out there right now focuses on stringing the audience along and making them think a certain thing is going to happen, when in fact they end up doing a complete 180 and introduce some insane plot twist. Now, that was pretty fun the first few times they did it, but it got old fast. Wednesday, however, takes a completely different turn by making the whole reveal something that's to be expected. They leave clues about the identity of the big bad throughout the entire season, and even then, when the villain is finally revealed, it's still so satisfying. Next up, what's up with Laurel Gates? Now, as Wednesday progresses through the show and keeps on carrying out her investigations, it eventually starts to put a strain on her friendships, such as her friendship with Enid. At some point, she even finds herself in a love triangle, including her, Xavier, and Tyler. She isn't too popular with the teaching staff either, who often chastise her for her behavior. However, Wednesday shows us that she isn't the sort of person who gives up easily and remains determined to figure out what to do about the whole monster problem, and carries out her investigation. Eventually, she begins to get closer and closer to figuring out the truth. At some point in the season, she finally figures out that Tyler is the Hyde, the monster that's been messing with the academy for so long. Now, Wednesday might have just gotten to the academy, but she sure didn't waste time brushing up on her facts about magical creatures. She knows that Hyde never acts alone and that there's always someone pulling the strings. She also knows that the person who transforms into a Hyde doesn't have any control over her actions when they're in that state. In comes Laurel Gates. Now we know you're wondering who this is. See, Laurel Gates is the descendant of the anti-outcast leader, Joseph Crackstone. Gates has decided to pick up where her ancestor left off. However, there's just one problem. She's been missing for a while. Now the whole problem is finding her and stopping her. Coming up, what's the big reveal? It's at this point that the big reveal happens. It's revealed that Professor Thornhill was the big bad wolf of the story. Now, none of you watching right now can say that you didn't see it coming. Even if you didn't know if it was the right theory, there's no denying that almost everyone knew that she would be involved in something sinister from the first time we saw her. She had a few mannerisms and characteristics, which really cemented her character and also gave us much needed clues to figure out her role in the whole monster thing. Even Wednesday suspected that there was something wrong with her from the first moment she met her. Now, granted, Wednesday thought she was the monster, even though it turned out that she wasn't, but at least she was onto something. Her demeanor at the academy doesn't make much sense either. It's supposed to be an academy of outcasts, or in other words, weirdos. She's constantly coming off as a kind, caring, and open-minded individual. That's the exact opposite of Wednesday. And considering that Wednesday is our protagonist, her counterpart only has one role to play, and that's the villain. Another way in which she gives away the fact that she might be the villain is how she immediately takes an interest in Wednesday, and is often seen snooping around and barging into her dorm room. No normal teacher would do that, especially with a student that's just arrived at the academy. Finally, why is the reveal so awesome? At this point, you're probably wondering why we were hyping up the big reveal so much. Well, there's a lot of significance in terms of casting that makes the big reveal such a, well, big deal. See, Laurel Gates is played by Christina Ricci, who played the role of Wednesday back in the 1991 film about the Addams Family. Now, since we have a new Wednesday on the scene, the fact that she was recast, but this time as an older figure in the show, means that she was always destined to play a big role in the Netflix series. Fans of the series who'd seen the previous movies would have known almost immediately that something big is coming for Richie's character. This is why, instead of feeling like the classic reveal, which has gotten quite boring in our opinion, when the Thornhill professor was revealed to be the main villain in the story until now, it was satisfying, to say the least. We think it's safe to say that the audience watching the show was pleasantly surprised surprised when their theories about the show's villain were confirmed. It's interesting to note that there were clues strewn around in the show from the first episode, pointing toward the fact that the professor was probably going to have something to do with the whole villain arc of the first and possibly second season. And that's why, for us, it remains one of the most satisfying reveals in recent cinema history. Now let's check out how Wednesday's Tyler debate completely ignores who the real villain is. First up, what debate are we talking about? Tyler's role in the show has been the subject of a huge debate, and it got even more hyped up once he was revealed to be a Hyde. Now, we're not gonna lie, most of the banter makes sense. We mean, think about it. The kid is Wednesday's love interest, and at the same time, he's the monster that's been going around murdering kids in the academy. The biggest thing that most people find in Tyler's role in the show is how his character is used. Even though he has an ongoing love arc with Wednesday, it's still pretty underdeveloped compared to the other relationships that Wednesday has built at the academy. The lack of content there isn't the best thing about the show. Now, once he was revealed to be a Hyde, the show's viewers were up in arms against the man. It was now clear that he had been manipulating Wednesday from the start of the show and hadn't been loyal to her one bit. At this point, the audience has every reason in the world to hate the character. Next up, he isn't the main villain. As we mentioned earlier in the video, Tyler isn't the main villain of the story. It's Marilyn Thornhill, the professor. It's important to note that Richie's Laurel Gates is the man behind the curtain, the one pulling all of the strings. The show reveals to us that a Hyde can only act on the orders of its master, and the person who transforms into one isn't actually in control of his/her actions. So now you might be thinking, doesn't that mean that Tyler is innocent after all? Well, not really. Just because he's not in control while he murders innocents doesn't mean that he's not a villain. What it does mean is that he isn't the biggest villain in the show and therefore shouldn't be hated as such. You have to also remember the circumstances under which he became a villain in the first place. As the show revealed to us, Tyler was manipulated and tortured by Gate, to the point where he began to enjoy killing. As grim as that sounds, it begins to portray Tyler as more of a victim rather than a villain. Finally, can Tyler be redeemed in the next season? Now that we've established that Tyler doesn't deserve all of the hate he's been getting as of late, we think now's the time to figure out whether he can be redeemed for his past actions or not. Remember, Tyler managed to survive the first season of the show, and that lines him up for a return in the second season. The problem is, we don't exactly know what he'll return as. The two most popular fan theories are that he'll either return as a partner to whoever stalks Wednesday in the second season or as a separate antagonist altogether. There is one thing we're hoping for, and that is the fact that Tyler might end up having a change of heart. See, as messed up as he is, he's still, to his core, a good person who was corrupted by an evil professor at the academy. With that being said, there's still a small chance that he's able to see that his actions are wrong and decide against becoming the show's antagonist and instead join up with Wednesday, for real this time, and help her thwart her enemies. Still though, all of that is just up for speculation, as we don't exactly know what's going to happen until the show ends up coming out with a new season. It's either that or somebody inside the crew will end up leaking the plot. Either way, it looks like we'll just have to wait and see what the second season of Wednesday has in store for us. Well, that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Tyler will get some much needed redemption in the second season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.